Hey everybody, welcome to the after show. Is this actually streaming? I can't see if it's streaming. Did it
No,
stream for you guys? No. So
I
that's
don't have it.
interesting. Why is it not streaming? Because I pressed all the right buttons. So I apologize. What a way to start.
This is why we have the summer shut. It
This
works
is
perfectly.
to make sure everything still works. Let me see here. It should be streaming. I'm gonna press another button
It
and
is
see
not.
if that works. You know what? I think I know what I've done wrong. So I'm going to rush off and do that. Can you let everyone know we'll be a few seconds behind and we'll be there in a bit? Hey, everybody, welcome to Friday nights, the after show on Narrative TV. Are you two guys a sight for sore eyes or what? I mean, it's just so nice to see you. Here's Lincoln's Bible, LB, and Greg Oliar. How are you two tonight? Let's start with you, LB.
I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm hot. It's hot in Los
Well,
Angeles.
it is summer,
Yeah,
and
I
it is
don't
our
know what
summer
to say.
special.
It's summer. Yeah, and I'm happy to be here with you guys.
It's good to see you.
So nice.
Greg, how have you been? You've had a little break?
I've had a little break. I'm good. This has been a rough week, man. News wise, it's just too
Yeah.
grim to. We're all wearing black. I think it's appropriate that we're all wearing black. Not to start the show off on a down note,
Well, we're
but
going to be talking a lot about it. It's hard not to talk
yeah, I
about
know,
what's going on in the news, and
I
there's
know.
just too much going on. It's a tragedy beyond words. Really, what a horrible way to end a horrible war. And 20 years has been a long time for America to be obsessed with this conflict. And I think the death toll is now at 170 or something like that. It's really, really high. And Joe Biden carrying all of this weight, and I personally feel like that's in an incorrect place to be blaming people, or certainly an incorrect place to be placing the blame. But we'll talk a lot about that during the show today. But it's without a doubt a very difficult week for America as it leaves Afghanistan. But on the other hand, we're leaving Afghanistan, which is, boy, what a horrible,
Yeah.
horrible exercise in war and futility, because really there was no reason to be there in the first place. Well, maybe there was some reason in terms of Osama bin Laden, but not really beyond that. So lots to talk about there. We're also going to talk about the vaccines, and we're going to talk about uh, horse, what are they called? Horse dewormers, which are making their way around America as a cure for COVID. And maybe if your predictions are right, Greg.
My poor horse, by the way. I'm not happy about this. No one's thinking about the animals. I'm
What
sorry.
about not having enough dewormers for the animals?
Yes.
Yes, of course. Or the humans. It's actually a good human drug too for other things. But we might be running out of it
in
now.
human dosages.
That's not what we're running out of.
Yes. It is good. It's actually, it's got legitimate purposes. But yes, it's ridiculous that people are using it for the wrong reasons when they can just get a vaccine. But there you go. It's wild times. Do you see the Israeli prime minister came to visit Biden in the White House today? There was a moment at the end there which was really, really weird. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on as well, because it just made me go, what is he talking about? You know, he's
oh no. Oh,
yeah, like in a really weird, like in a,
you're gonna surprise us with some of this.
Well, I can tell you now. I mean, if you
watch in real time.
So he ends the thing with like he's going to read something from the Haftorah, which is a version of the Torah, like a piece of the Torah that isn't commonly read tomorrow. And he quotes from it. And in this quote, he talks about, or this is a very rough paraphrasing of what he said, but he said something like, and all the Jews will return to Israel and rebuild the old Israel together, which sounds on the surface just like, oh, well, we've heard this kind of stuff before, except like people who are read into this whole world also know that there's a sort of this right-wing fantasy theory, whatever you want to call it, that all the Jews will return to Israel from the United States and elsewhere in the world and rebuild Israel. It's like on the far right fringes of how the world might turn out. But I mean, either he thinks we're dumb or we're not paying attention, but I saw it, and that's what he said. And Biden,
there's another subtext to it that might be positive.
Yeah, it could be. And it was and he put it that way. He said to him, "This is Biden's very, you're part of the reason that all of this is happening." And then he does this with the mask off, by the way, which I thought was really rude. Like he takes the mask off in front of a room full of people in the media, even though he's got the 3 doses thing going on and whatever it is they have in Israel. Keep your mask on. You're in a press conference. He takes the mask off. He makes this pronouncement. And then Biden shoots back with, well, it's not really my doing. It was Barack Obama's doing, which we all know is like a deep context of, Biden and Obama and Netanyahu did not love each other at all. Right. So it was a bit of... it was really an interesting moment, really awkward in a weird way. And if you didn't know the dynamics, you would think, oh, well, there's nothing here. But I think there was something there. So I'm pointing it out just as something for people to look out for. I'm not sure what it means. I don't
know.
I mean, he is a right-wing guy, right? Isn't that?
Yes, he is basically
he's not a mobbed criminal, but he's still a right-wing, extreme hard right-wing guy.
Even more than Netanyahu in some ways, and even more religious and far more religious than Netanyahu, which is why he was quoting from the Haftorah, which is, it's interesting, but it's not exactly kind of thing you would do at the White House. So I was like, makes me wonder if things have really shifted in Israel, or whether we're just sort of dealing with
some of my tequila.
Any iteration.
Taking some tequila.
It might be time for a drink.
Actually, Zev, it's funny that you bring this up, because I actually was thinking about that today, like that idea that he was talking about, of this prophecy that the Jews will return to Israel and then the rapture is coming, or whatever these people believe. And I was thinking about it in the context of, this is kind of like a really 3,000-year-old op that these guys are doing, right?
Right.
And I just had that thought today. So it's interesting that this actually happened and he quoted it, because I thought of this independent of even knowing that he was here.
Well, it's this kind of thing where it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If you say it enough times and you do it over a long enough period of time, you can actually get people to do it because they buy into it. But it's, well, it doesn't have to be that way.
You attach that to don't take a vaccine, which is not what they're doing in Israel, but it is what's happening over here.
Right.
On the hard right. Maybe they will rapture.
That is a quick way to get raptured.
It's a quick way to get raptured.
Highway to heaven, man.
God.
Do people get like a get out of hell card or whatever it is for does Donald Trump have some sort of deal with all these people to, make sure that he doesn't have to die with the rest of us if this apocalyptic version happens? Or do they have deals?
That's a deal with the devil.
Yeah, but do they have that deal? Yeah. I mean, I'm just wondering where you go and you get that deal. Is there like a special office where you could say, I'll sell my soul to you if you...
It was one of Jeffrey Epstein's brothels, I believe, is where you could show up and get that deal.
Right. Probably. You probably got the deal right there.
Probably.
That court case is coming up soon, so
yes, it is.
That'll be interesting. That Maxwell court case.
Zev, can you hear me okay now?
I can hear you okay all the time. Why is people saying they can't?
No, I didn't do the little button where I turned I have my fancy microphone in front of my face and the red light is on, and I did not switch to it. So now I've switched.
It says your mic sounds a wee bit muffled.
I know. Yes, I heard that.
Oh,
Thank you for whoever.
And also that you're nicely coiffed, because they're noticing that you got your hair done. I didn't get anything done. These people all relaxed, except Zev. Zev doesn't ever relax.
No, I worked my.
He doesn't, and I worked my ass off.
Relax. In what galaxy am I relaxing? Come on.
I don't know. You don't relax. That's
you don't relax. So it's not like anyone was sitting on a beach. I mean, wouldn't that be nice? Like we could have been sitting on a beach.
When is that going to
Although I will allow, no one worked quite as hard as the machine over here.
Is the machine
sweating? Currently sweating in her Southern California redoubt.
I really did. I really pulled a rabbit out of a hat. I don't know how I did it. I had a lot of support. While I'll just go ahead and say it, not that now he's going to just be so angry at me, but while the silent one had shingles, because my summer hasn't been horrible enough. It was just sort of like, now let's just put some icing on this shit cake of your summer and a nice cherry on top, and take your biggest support system out with a bad case of the shingles. So he's fine now, everybody. But it was
we'll give Stephen our best, because he is the best.
You said his name.
Oh my God, I'm not allowed to.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
The silent one. I'm sorry.
The silent one.
I've been so good with this stuff.
It's actually no big deal. It's no big deal.
Yeah. Okay.
Our names are out.
Yeah, but anyhow, we love him. So
I know. He's the greatest. He is the greatest.
He is.
Cosine.
Yeah.
Agree. +1.
Oh, +1.
Code, not trigonometry, like cosine. Like I agree with you.
So let's talk a little bit about Afghanistan here, because this has been what a difficult period of time. Now, there's a bunch of things that I guess we could break it up into different categories. If I was going to, I would start off with just, the exit has been, some people would say just what you'd expect at the end of a war. Other people would say it's been a disaster. I'm in the category of this is what happens when you leave a war. But where would you guys fit into that category?
Oh, can I start this?
You go for it.
You mind, LB? Okay. So when the British pulled out of Afghanistan in 1843, they had 4,000 troops, they had 12,000 civilians, and they had assurances from the Afghan government, right, just like we did, that everything was going to be just fine on their march from Kabul to Kandahar, where the British were garrisoned. So off they went, and the rumor has it that the prince at the time, Akbar Khan, shouted in Persian, "Spare them," but in Pashto shouted, "Kill them." And anyway,
is this true?
This is true. Of the, how many did I say? 14,000. Is it 12 or 14,000? I think it was 14,000. No, 16,000. Excuse me.
Yeah, you said 100, but you mean 1,000. Yeah.
1,000. There were 14,000 troops plus civilians going on that in a column, because it's like through the mountains and everything. Guess how many soldiers survived to make it to the British garrison? Guess.
3.
No, lower.
What? No, really?
0.
0?
1 fucking guy. Okay,
who's that guy?
One guy. British Empire, most powerful empire the world had ever known, could not get more than one guy.
So leaving Afghanistan, complicated, very complicated.
Yes, it's fucking complicated. And again, he had assurances from the Afghan government. The Afghan government double-crossed them, and they all died. So that's what the situation was there then. And that's what the situation, it's the same stuff.
Did the British did the British try to take 1 million people with them? Or?
Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Did they airlift? Did they? I know Donald Trump seems to think, at least in our Revolutionary War we had airplanes. So
we can get back to that. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'll be sorry, interrupted your thought there. You're going to respond.
I'm staying calm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to stay calm. Look, I didn't say a lot when this was all happening because I do historical context when it comes to talking about intelligence operations and operatives. Not necessarily, everyone assumes you're always talking about U.S. I'm not in that context. I know a shit ton about gangsters. I actually know a bit about corruption in Afghanistan, more than one would think. And I still kept my mouth shut and watched because here's, unless you're active military intelligence in the moment associated and connected to that region and that operation, you don't know shit. You don't know what the president knows. You don't. Right? I know there's a lot of people that's like, oh, my people are telling me this and my people are telling me that. And they're on Twitter and they're flailing. Well, who are your people? Because they're not, as you know, are they other retired people? There's a lot of folks that have deep connections, either from being of service themselves in our military and armed forces over there, or connections to people who are still involved over there. This is a very traumatic, this has been a really traumatic experience, period, full stop, for everyone who sacrificed. Even if you're sacrificed, you came out without an injury, you came out with anything, you sacrificed to be over there. For God's sakes, it's a horrible place to be. So, and war is horrible. And we're not even ready for these stories that we're about to hear of what people saw over there for as many years as they were over there. So understand, first of all, that there's this trauma, and it's just, you have a huge population of people who just, the experience of that ending and the experience of like, oh my God, what are they doing? And we can't just leave people. And they're right into a part of their brain that's going to be hyperbolic, and rightfully so. And they're stressed and they know people and try to get people out and try to talk to their people and they love people. That does not mean they have the first fucking clue what the president of the United States knew. That doesn't mean they had the first clue of what intelligence was being crafted, not made up, but coalesced, really vetted, gone through. It's an intense experience, that is, to get that kind of intelligence in front of the president of the United States in real time, as fast as you can, around a situation like this. Only the people who did that and the president himself and the Joint Chiefs have the first fucking clue what that intelligence was. And it's just, you know, and I'm not in intelligence. I'm just a fucking screenwriter. Okay. But I know enough to know that. So
are you talking specifically about the exit? Are you talking about the bombing or the...
I'm talking about the exit. I'm talking about the decision to go. I'm talking about the exit, how it was handled. I'm talking about the whole thing. Now we can see some of what we understand was coming to the administration, to our president, about what was going on. There was imminent threat of this kind of attack. If you know there's imminent threat of this kind of attack, how fast do you feel like you got to get everybody the fuck out of there? And also be very vocal and declarative of, we're doing this. We're going to do this. This is what we're going to do. We're going to get out, because that shifts the mission. Now the mission is a mission about leaving and getting as many people as you can, every American you can, everyone that helped us out, you know, God, we don't want to get into how that process was sabotaged intentionally by the prior people for this moment to occur and it be on Joe's head. So the mission changed. By changing the mission, we're no longer in an active war experience, right? So that imagine this kind of terror attack coming and hitting because Donald Trump did a deal to let all those fucking people out of prison. So imagine if this attack happened and we were still in an active war stance, and then we said, no, we're getting out, we're retreating, we would have been the nation that retreats.
Well, we are a nation that's retreating, but we are.
We're not. Well, we ended our war and we shifted our mission. Okay, so now that it's a different mission, because Joe made the mission clear. We're going to be in this mission now, right? Knowing that probably an attack is going to happen. This is my looking at it. This is why I waited. This is why I didn't weigh in. This is why I didn't do it on Twitter. I was just waiting and watching and seeing There's some big thing we don't quite understand or know about what actually is coming to the President of the United States and informing this decision. Now we have at least a window into that. Look, and so in that way, we need to stand up for this president. If he hadn't shifted the mission, we would have been further engaged in warfare there. We would have been. Now we can do a seek and destroy. We don't have to retaliate with our armed forces in an active war. That's a very different thing. Excuse me, I guess if war scholars want to come after me, come fucking after me.
Look, I think you're right in a bunch of things. I think you're right that it's absolutely.
I am right about this.
That no one knows what it's like. No one can ever imagine what it's like to be in that situation. The mission is the same as what Donald Trump wanted. It a little later, but it was the same mission. However, the underlying thing that you're both saying, I think, in your comments, is that retreating from a war like this, surrounded by these enemy countries that you have, surrounded by the Taliban and all their various factions, and then other factions of various terrorist groups, is probably one of the most complicated things you can imagine doing in any hot war situation. I mean, these people are also trying to airlift 100,000 people with them. It is so complicated, so intense, as you're pulling back every resource you have. That it's remarkable. I mean, I think what America has shown this week, and I wish America would stop beating itself up about this, is that it is the only country in the world capable of doing something like this. Like, I mean, it's not even imaginable that anybody else could pull this off. Yeah. But no one else could pull this off. I can guarantee you. It's such firstly, you have to have the will to care about the people that you have been fighting for or fighting with all along, to bring them out. I mean, that to me is something we should discuss later on, because I don't know necessarily agree with the whole idea of it, but the fact that they're doing it while fighting their way out of a complicated 2-decade war, it says a lot about America, and it certainly says a lot about Joe Biden and about the administration, if they care enough to be doing all this stuff on the way out of a war, because it never happens. People never airlift 1 million people or 100,000 people or any number of people out of a war that aren't, their own combatants. They normally leave them behind.
We actually brought a lot of people out of Vietnam. So we
put some people out of Vietnam, but we don't do it like this.
We do this. We haven't done it like this. This is again, it's a different mission than an active war.
Yeah.
So
I think it's remarkable.
If those terrorists had attacked us before our mission had shifted, we would have had to respond from a war position. We do not want to be. Keep being said. It keeps being said. The war was ended. We ended it. We said we're done. It's not. And now, why did Joe keep that? Why did he keep the deal that the other guy did? And why was he pointing everybody in the room and all the reporters and the press in the room to this May 1st thing? There's a lot to unpack in there. I think that was some wishful thinking that the press is going to give a fuck and actually report and give context and look at that and sort of say, oh, you're talking about when an actual deal was made with the Taliban around the Afghan government that forced the Afghan government, which was completely corrupt, to collapse on its face and run for those people fucking ran. They got out, right? That was all set up. Not that the press, not that we're going to give that context every time they start blathering on about this whole thing. But he tried to focus them on that, and instead he had to say a prayer because it was so frustrating.
I mean, the media is doing an awful job. I really believe that. Go ahead.
Let's get to that in a second. Yeah, let's hold off on the media for now, because I want to talk about Afghanistan stuff a little bit and piggyback on some of the stuff that both of you were saying. First, you talk about mission. The initial mission of Afghanistan was to destroy Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan and get rid of the Taliban. We did that by December of 2001.
And Osama bin Laden. I think Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda would be the actual.
We flushed him out, the whole deal, right? Okay, yeah. We neutralized their power. Mm-hmm. And at that point, a decision was made to go nation build. And we can argue till the cows come home whether that was good or bad, but it was something that we tried. And I don't, there are compelling reasons why that was a good idea, I think. The Taliban, okay, look,
can I push back on that? I don't think the decision was ever made to nation build. I think the decision was to support the Afghanistan army and help them build a government. But it was never we're going to.
That's nation building.
It's nation building to a point.
That's what nation building is. The mission shifted is the point. Okay, I was going to write back.
There's a lot more than that. Novels.
Okay. Yeah. I wrote a novel that never about, and one of the characters was a soldier coming back from Afghanistan. So I read a lot of books. I read this book, which is Afghanistan's Endless War, State Failure, Regional Politics, and the Rise of the Taliban by Larry P. Goodson. This is an academic book. I read that. I read The Fragmentation of Afghanistan by Bennett R. Rubin, also a good book. I read Little America, which kind of says what, whoops, I can't do this thing.
I know, I can't ever do it. There you go.
Okay. Ghost War, Steve Cole, Ghost War, really good book if you want to understand what's happening or happened in the lead up, and of course, The Forever War. And I read a bunch more books besides. I don't feel even remotely fucking qualified to talk about this. And these people on TV did not read all of these books. That's A. Okay. So we can argue till the cows come home about whether what we did was the right thing to do. But at the time, I read something this morning that I wrote in March of 2001 about the Taliban when they blew up the Buddha statues at Bamiyan and how the women were being treated in that society. And it was fucking awful. It was awful. Awful, awful, awful. And I think, I don't know, but I suspect that when we leave, it's still going to be really awful, but it's not going to be as bad as it was. I would like to think that us being there for 20 fucking years made some kind of difference. I really would like to think that. Okay.
I think you're right.
The reality of democracy is that it's hard. We wanted to go in there and have them treat their women better. We can't do that here. We want them to treat their LGBT community better. We can't do that here. Okay. We want them to treat their elections and have the elections be free and fair. We can't fucking do that here. So how are we going to go there and teach them how to do it? We can't even do it here at this point. That's what's happened in the last 20 years and in the last 4 years under this fascist fuck Donald Trump. Right. Okay. So anyway, that's the politics
I have more
of it.
to say about him.
Yeah. Okay. Right. The other thing is Biden had several choices to make. The first choice he had to make is, should I honor this horrible thing that Pompeo and Trump cooked up? And the answer was, yes, I must, because we're the United fucking States. And as horrible as these corrupt mobsters are, they were the government of the United States. We have to honor the treaty that was signed by the government of the United States. Again, we can argue about it, but that's a pretty compelling thing to do. To go back on international agreements, even if they're bad, is probably not great.
It's not good for you. Not good for your country.
Yeah. So, okay, you can bash Joe all you want. That's a perfectly defensible stance under the circumstances. And now, what are we supposed to do? The politics are now out of it. Now the mission is, we're done. We're leaving. We want to get everybody out that we can get out. Right now, and I worry about this, there's a hurricane heading towards Louisiana, Mississippi right now, by the way.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people were warning about the hurricane, and there are going to be people that do not heed the hurricane warning. They're not going to listen to the hurricane, so they're just going to be like, well, I'll be okay. I'll stay in my house. It'll be fine. And some of them will, they may die because they did not heed the warning. And the State Department has been warning American citizens in Afghanistan to leave for the last, 9 months?
Yeah.
So when they say that, the thing to do when you're there is to leave. They're trying everything they can.
If people don't leave, they can stay. It's their choice.
Or they can stay, but it's not. It's
not Joe's fault.
It's like with the fucking vaccines.
Yeah.
Oh, Joe Biden can only lead the horses to water. That's all he can do. He cannot make people drink. He does not have that power. He's not a dictator. All he can do is lead them to water. So to ding him on that is also stupid. At the end of the day, people have to take responsibility for their own stuff, right? You've been warned. You've been told for months, get out, get out, get out. This is coming. Get out, get out, get out. The thing to do if you want to get out is to get out. So under the circumstances, as horrible as this attack was, I don't see how this could be handled any better than what we're doing. This is a huge, major success by the United States military. It is a major success. In 2 weeks, everyone will see it. in 2 months, everyone will applaud it. And a year from now, at the midterms, everyone's going to be like, thank God we're not in Afghanistan anymore. So these fucking assholes on CNN and everywhere else can go fuck themselves.
100% agree. I think Biden has done an exemplary job. He's just a phenomenal leader. I can't imagine having anyone else in the chair right now. Certainly not Donald Trump. But, there are very few people that can manage that kind of high stakes retreat from a 20-year war, surrounded by your enemies, the way Joe Biden has done, with the compassion he's done and the empathy that he's had and the sympathy that he's had, has been remarkable. Only Joe Biden could have done that. And anyone who tells you otherwise has it's just not looking at the situation normally. You can't look at the situation and say it could have been done any better. And it's very, very sad that we've lost so many service members. But
yes.
But it's a war. Awful. It is a war, and our sympathies to them and their families. But
again, I come back to this. I'm gonna keep coming back to this, everybody, because it's really, really important. Joe went out yesterday, talked about the event, terror bombing, right, and gave some really important pieces of information in saying we actually think we know who did this. Mm-hmm. So if you know who did this, it's not because you've done a DNA test on the remains in a situation like that and you figured it out. It's because there was intelligence. And remember, he was kept out of this intelligence. It started in February 2020 with the former the fucko. It went in May, kind of all got solidified. It was about the Taliban actually gaining control and dismantling the Afghan government as it was, which was corrupt and was bound to collapse anyway. But that's not why he did it. He did it because he's Putin's holes. Because he's the Kremlin's holes. He's got 2 holes that Putin focused on. By the time he was done with his presidency, he probably had 4, right? Don't forget, we had bounties on our soldiers' heads that coming from the Taliban. This was all intelligence that came in. All of this was kept from the incoming administration by that weird hen, Emily, whatever. So it was all intentionally kept from him. He gets in, the deal's done. It's all, Donald Trump even came out and said, I set it up so that it was gonna be a mess from him no matter what he did. I covered that. I did the Afghanistan thing, doing his wink, wink, nod, nod, saying it out loud because that helps him. Oh my God. And then he's never going to get indicted for any of the shit he does because he just talks about it in real time. And if he's just talking about it, then it's the First Amendment. And what can we do? He's confessing his crimes, but it's not really a confession. It's just the First Amendment. So, we can't prosecute this guy. This is the insanity of that former presidency that is continuing to this day.
And we'll continue after this break. We've got lots to talk about. And we'll be back. We've got another 30 minutes or more. We'll talk more about Afghanistan, but I know you're dying to learn about what happened to that mattress. So I'm not a great sleeper, as it turns out. I needed to be freezing, cold, and completely dark, and then I cocoon myself in pillows. Even then, sometimes I toss and turn all night. I thought it was stress about politics, maybe the pandemic, who knows. But recently I took a sleep quiz, and I realized it was my mattress that was all wrong for my style of sleeping. Helix Sleep has a quiz that takes just 2 minutes to complete and matches your body type and sleep preferences to the perfect mattress for you. Why would you buy a mattress made for somebody else? With Helix, you're getting a mattress that you know will be perfect for the way you sleep. Everybody's unique, and Helix knows that. So they have a soft, medium, and firm mattresses great for cooling you down if you sleep hot, and even a Helix Plus mattress for plus-size sleepers. I took the Helix Sleep quiz and was matched with the Helix Dusk Luxe mattress because I sleep on my back and wanted something with medium firmness. It's a huge upgrade over what I used to have. It's soft, but still really supportive. And now I'm falling asleep right away and sleeping well throughout the night. So if you're looking for a mattress, just take the quiz, order the mattress you're matched to, and it comes right to your door, shipped in a box. It's amazing. It just folds out of the box. It really is impressive. And it's shipped for free. Helix is awesome, but you don't need to take my word for it. Helix was awarded the #1 best overall mattress pick of 2020 by GQ and Wired magazine. It's pretty impressive. They have a 10-year warranty, and you get to try it out for 100 nights risk-free. They'll even pick it up for you if you don't love it. Can you imagine that? So 100 nights, good night's sleeps. And if you don't love it, you can send it right back. and you will love it, of course. Helix is offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners at helixsleep.com/narrative. That's NARATIV. That's helixsleep.com/narrative, NARATIV. And you'll get $200 off for 2 free pillows. Tell them I sent you, and you won't regret it. I promise that. It's a great mattress. There you go. So we're back. The sleeps have not gotten that much better this week. Not this week. They haven't been that great with all this war stuff. I posted this the other day, and I was really, it was a bit of a joke. This was before the event. But, when you look at Afghanistan, you know that it's like the entire thing is a stage. It's a theater for all the powers around it. There are forces around that country that are impacting Afghanistan because it's surrounded by the worst countries in the world. I mean, you got China, Pakistan, Iran, and basically Russia through all the STAN countries. So all these countries are basically impacting Afghanistan, which is why it's never going to be some dream democratic state, because it just never can. There's no chances of succeeding in that way. So here we are stuck in this war and trying to leave. All these countries have an agenda to come at America, and they surely did. I'm convinced that when you really look at all of this, you will see that Russia and China and others are basically playing America on its way out. I mean, we certainly know that China's involved in there because they are already looking to get those rare earth minerals mining contracts that are in Afghanistan. They've already set themselves up for that $3 trillion windfall that they'll get once America leaves. We know that Russia basically supports ISIS. ISIS is basically Russia's proxy army. They do all sorts of things for Putin when he needs it. And so it's no surprise that it was ISIS-K that did yesterday's bomb blast. Iran, well, we know about Iran. And Pakistan is really how we got Al-Qaeda in the first place. I mean, it's the Taliban in the first place. The Haqqani network, which established the Taliban, is basically an effort of the Pakistani intelligence services. So, and they're partially an organized crime thing, partially a terrorist organization. They just sort of span the world of grossness. But this is the territory we were trying to pull out of. The chances of us pulling out of that part of the world successfully without anyone dying, without any chaos is basically impossible. It's never been this way in Afghanistan. It's never been like that.
Again, how many British troops died?
One. sorry.
No,
one
survived.
One survived.
And there was a half dozen Indian servants that were with him. Wow. That's it.
Yeah,
it's all.
You just can't pull out.
When the Prime Minister of Britain heard the news, he literally had a stroke.
Yeah,
it was a huge fucking deal.
And you got to question why we went in there in the first place, knowing all this. I mean, it's not like we were surprised, that this was the territory we were flying into. But
it's in The Princess Bride, for God's sake. He says it in The Princess Bride. The first rule is never get into a land war in Asia.
Right?
Don't do it.
Well, this is the thing that sort of does get me a little bit upset, because 3 times now, Russia and China have been able to pull America into wars in their part of the world, in countries where they are bordering on or close to. And they've done the same thing 3 times. They sort of set up these proxy armies, and America goes in and does the very best they can, thinking that they will defeat this proxy army, because how big can this proxy army be? But it's not really just the proxy army. It's China and Russia that they're fighting all the time. And they have, much more patience. And so we get stuck in these situations again and again and again. So if there's something to think about it not doing again, is going to that side of the world and getting stuck in a war there. Here's
the thing.
Yeah.
We were attacked by terrorists who are also thugs. Okay. Right. We weren't attacked by a nation state. We weren't.
Right.
We were attacked by operatives of a crime syndicate. That's what attacked us. And they were Saudis. So most of them.
But the Saudis, you don't think the
Saudis have oil, so
yeah.
I'm saying we weren't attacked. It was an act of war, but the war to be had in terms of responding was a war with transnational organized crime. It just was. That war is literally the war that we heard the president articulate yesterday of we will hunt you down and we'll kill you. You just do a heat-seeking mission for the crime lords. You take their money, you freeze their fucking money off from them, and you go in and you disrupt these.
But he didn't say that. He said he was going after ISIS-K, and I mean that's fine. Go after ISIS-K, but that's not going to really do anything.
You know what ISIS-K
is?
No.
They froze a lot of money. He said that. Nobody's talking about it. It was in one of the announcements. They froze a shit ton of this money.
He's responding now. We're responding now. The United States is responding now in the way that if we had responded this way after 9/11, it was just almost impossible. Again, it just was a thing where our flex was to go in and invade because it was such a massive invasion and attack on us. But it wasn't a nation state that attacked us.
Certainly not Afghanistan.
It was a syndicate. And so, and it took us a while to figure that out. And it took us a while to find it. There were a lot that we knew that should have been clues, but we had, I think, a very challenged, I'll put it that way, administration in at the time. So it was a perfect bait. It just was. It was the perfect bait to bait us into a land war in Asia. It was, and in the Middle East.
And they've done that before, and we should watch for it again. Now, the one thing I do want to say, and it ties into what you said earlier, Greg, about why we went in there. We went in there in 2001 because of 9/11, and we went in there because we were going to stop Al-Qaeda and we were going to get Osama bin Laden. We got Osama bin Laden in 2011. So that's 10 years ago. We got him, and that should have been the end of the mission. And that's when we turned into nation state building, or whatever you wanted to call it. But I think it's more, we were going to be in a supportive state. We never really said out loud we're going to build a state because we couldn't. So we said we're going to help them build a government and an army. We were helping them build a government and an army. This thinking that is prevailing in the media is that they were helping us do something in the last 10 years. That's not the case. It's the other way around. We were helping them build a government and an army. Now, I am perfectly in favor of bringing as many people over that are qualified and capable and being supportive of the American government. But this notion that, they are helping, we're leaving our friends and who've helped us and now we're going to leave them behind is not actually the case. They're our friends, but we were there supporting them. The mission is not the other way around. And it's not necessarily our responsibility, although it's interesting that America feels it is, to go and bring these people out of their country and bring them to the United States. I mean, it's quite weird, actually, to do that. It's quite weird. I know, but it's quite a weird thing to do because I'll tell you one other thing.
But I hear you.
Afghanistan needs its young people. It needs its young, liberal, professional people to build itself. And these people are them. The people that helped America are the young, progressive, professional people. And we're about to take out that whole class of people and bring them to the United States, which maybe is good for America. Maybe we need the immigration. We probably need it for the numbers. But it is also detrimental to the United States because we want to keep a toehold in that part of the world. And those are the people that are loyal to us. And the Taliban is not actually going to do anything with them because they need them. They're not going to do anything bad to these guys. They said they're not. And you have to take I don't believe that they will. It's not in their interest to do it. It's not in their interest.
You sound like the Major General who trusted them in 1843, Zeb.
It's okay to say, look.
But they also, they know their government. They know how it collapsed. They understand the corruption over there. They know that the incoming government that has.
They know where the money's coming from. The money is coming from the United States.
They know. So I'm trusting these folks to understand and know that they need to get the fuck out of there. I don't think there's going to be anything. This is going to become an extremist state. I hope that we did do some with there, but we did it because these folks, yes, we were there helping them. And you know what? They were helping us help them. So it was a joint effort. We were partners in it, and our partners don't want to be there without us. And I'm all for bringing every single one of them here. I am. I want them here. I don't want them there. I'm sorry. I feel terrible.
There's lots of people in the world that should be here.
Let me finish.
Yeah.
Let me finish. I feel terrible. Yes, but we have an obligation. We do. I'm vehement about this. I don't blame them for not staying there because the joint mission that they were involved in with us failed. We bring them with us. We get out, they get out. We tried to do something together. It didn't work because of the corruption. Again, if we had just gone for the corruption from day one, instead of going in as in a military stance, as if it was on war footing, instead gone and attacked the corruption. The corruption is always going to win, guys. It's always going to win.
To a large
especially,
extent.
hang on.
No.
Especially when you're talking about the heart of the smuggling empire of the world. Mm-hmm. That's what Afghanistan is. It's the beating fucking heart of smuggling. So if the people of Afghanistan can't free themselves from that, and I don't know that they ever will, or the world can't respond in such a way to where it doesn't have to be a dark network of syndicates running that place and flooding that place with the kind of money that comes out of smuggling, the heart of smuggling, the heart of the underworld, the kind of money that's you. It looks like this poor little nation. When you get into the underworld, holy shit, there's a ton of money that these syndicates are making and controlling. So we tried. We had partners in that attempt, and it failed because we didn't do enough about the corruption. We just didn't.
Well, we were in the corruption. I mean, there's no way you can look at the situation in Afghanistan and say that the United States did not set up a corrupt system.
We thought we could work with, I don't know. I disagree. We thought we could work with it instead of attacking it. You can't leave certain, if you think of it like a machine, right? Like an engine. So you can't, the whole engine had to get ripped out of the car and a new engine put in. You can't just replace parts of the engine and try to work on parts and tinker it if the engine itself is the wrong engine or is a corrupt engine. You can't.
But
if you're trying, but hang on,
not go in there trying to build an engine.
Money,
Dick Cheney went in there to make as much money for Halliburton as he could.
We want to talk about Cheney. That's a different conversation.
But that is a conversation.
Well, but Barack Obama was in there for 8 years and he did the surge there. So that happened under the Obama administration. You can't keep funneling resources into a corrupt engine. It's like I'm going to keep putting gas in this tank, right? That's going to go to an engine that's just going to siphon all the gas off to these fucketeers over here. You have to rip that out. We didn't do that. I don't know that it's even possible to do that. Just to try to take my metaphor, which is going to fall apart.
$3 trillion.
Yes, we did, and we spent it on credit.
Where did it go?
Where did it go? Spent it on credit. It went into the hands of. It went into people's pockets.
Right. Do you think that Afghanistan had $3 trillion before, just flowing in there? No, they got the $3 trillion that America gave them. They were happy to have it.
Some of it went into infrastructure. Some of it went into building, but a lot of it went into people's pockets. And those people's pockets it went into, guess where they went? They fucking hightailed it out of there as soon as the writing was on the wall. And the writing was on their wall before we even had a whiff of it, before we even knew what the mechanics of this whole thing were gonna be. So, and by we I mean the American public. I mean us.
Look, I applaud everyone who wants to say let's bring these people here, but it's not necessary. I understand why, but it's not necessary right now. I think.
Yes,
and it's also not necessarily a good thing in the long term. It's not necessarily a good thing for the people of Afghanistan not to have all these people there, but also for America not to have its loyal friends in those positions of power inside Afghanistan, which I think they would have anyhow.
We're out of Afghanistan. We're done.
Right, I know, but we want to still have a toehold there.
So our friends, our loyal friends who know what life is going to be there with those thugs said, you cannot leave us here in this, and we have an obligation to get them out of there.
I don't agree. But that's what we have obligated ourselves, but I disagree. Greg, you've been quiet. Go for it.
I'm listening to the thing, Zev, to some degree, I agree with part of what you said, because I do think that this Taliban is different than the Taliban of 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. I think it's a different generation. They must be slightly savvier about wanting to, survive and not have us go there and just destroy them. And maybe they're willing to do certain concessions. But 20 years ago, the Taliban took all their women, basically put them in a cloth coffin and didn't let them do anything. They weren't allowed to talk to anybody. They were barely allowed to leave the house. They weren't allowed to laugh. They weren't allowed to talk to men at all of any kind, whether they were doctors or lawyers or anything. It was a terrible, terrible existence. There's nothing there. Nothing's gonna. We're not going to suddenly see democracy grow in Afghanistan. It's not likely to be the center of some great renaissance because it's a tribal thing. And again, we have literally almost 3,000 years of history suggesting that it's not possible. So it's a country that is very good at repulsing the colonial powers. It's not a very good country at creating something within and sustaining it and moving outwards. So certainly in the short term, anybody that helped us got to get out of there. Also, by the way, I don't care. I want anybody with talent in Afghanistan here. I wish we put everybody in Wyoming and South Dakota and these states where we need democratic votes. Let's get some new Afghani Americans in the goddamn Senate, I say.
I mean, to some extent,
all in Wyoming. Do I have to do the thinking for everybody? Also,
yes, you do.
Joe Biden is the president. He honors treaties. He honors contracts and obligations of the United States government that the United States government made, even if it was done, even if he doesn't personally agree with it, because he feels like it's the right thing to do. I give him,
again,
he's going to bring whatever we argue here, Biden's bringing him here. That's what's happening.
I don't think that. I think he's shifting a little bit, and I think that there's good reason for his shift. I'm trying to say that I think there is a bit of a pullback on his commitment, and I think it's okay. But go ahead.
No, hang on. I gotta say this. This is like, I don't feel like this plane is landing here.
Yeah.
The situation that was handed to him was very binary. He was either going to pull out of that agreement, as Greg says, we honor agreements, but it's worse than that. If he had pulled out of that agreement, if he didn't honor that agreement that Pompeo and Trump crafted, which was a trap, if he didn't honor that agreement, we would have still been in the mission of war. Mm-hmm. So we now know that they knew that we were going to be attacked in a massive way, that this ISIS-K was coming. And so then we would have been engaged, because Afghanistan was quiet for a while. It was about to erupt. It was about to erupt. That is what the president told us that the intelligence was, that they knew. They knew this. They knew this kind of attack was coming. So if he hadn't shifted the mission to keeping it on this war, ending the war and getting out of there, if he had reversed out of that treaty, we would have still been in active war there, and we would have had to respond to that attack with our armed forces, not in a specified way. That is what I'm trying to say here, you guys. They knew this attack was coming. They didn't know when, they didn't know how many, they don't right, but they knew that it was imminent. And so he goes back on that. He goes back on that the agreement with the Taliban. Guess what? We would have to then, send the troops up the mission, go rout them out. It would have been our soldiers doing this in these missions, not like a seek and destroy special forces thing. It would have been.
There's no doubt the Taliban was surging, and they were going to create a difficult situation for America had they stayed there. The Taliban were. This is the reason why this is happening. Is because the Taliban was surging, and there was clearly they were going to take over. They're going to enter into a very hot war with America, and that's why America, whether right or wrong, decided to move out. And then the ISIS thing, it was a different event in that it gave them an indication. We knew that this was. We would then have to respond. Yes. Do you know what I think that happened? That's what I'm saying. I think it happened because of Putin. I think last week on Friday, Putin and the Kremlin said that they were fully in support of the Taliban, and they were going to usher in a whole new era of responsibility to the region and how safe and secure everything was going to be. But by Wednesday, when did the attack happen? Wednesday. They had changed their tune. They early in the morning, at least they decided to pull all the Russians out in an emergency airlift, and this was an hour and a half or 2 hours before the actual terror attack. When you looked at what is happening on the television in Russia, Julie Davis had a great couple of tweets showing how excited almost they were about what was about to happen. Even a banner saying the attack was coming in 60 minutes. It seems to me that a lot happened between Friday and Wednesday to change Putin's point of view on the Taliban. And I think that what happened was William Burns going to the CIA director, meeting with the Taliban. because that happened. I can't remember the dates, and I don't get them all wrong. But in between all of that, America made a deal with the Taliban. That's what that meeting was about. They had made some sort of deal, and that deal, I think, pissed Putin off because I think it probably cut him out, and that's why I think we had a terror attack on the American airport just there by ISIS, which he happens to use occasionally for.
It's an interesting theory. It's an interesting theory.
Yeah. It's a good thread that you had. I think everybody should go check it out.
So we could talk about a lot of things more about this, but
just one more thing real quick before we move on from Afghanistan, before we're airlifted out of the Afghanistan part of
get us out of this. Yeah.
A couple of things. Historically, Islam as a religion is a wonderful religion. It's a religion of peace, as they say. Okay. When Europe was in the so-called Dark Ages, which if you read about the shit that the white Europeans were doing in the Dark Ages, it's mind-boggling the dumb. It's MAGA level dumb. Okay. It was the golden age of Islam. They welcomed everybody in. They had a diverse society. There was great learning. There was inventions. There was mathematics. There was all this stuff that was happening. And in any society, once people start getting inward and not trusting outsiders, the society turns to shit. It always happens. Mm-hmm. So what the Taliban wants, this quote unquote Sharia law thing, is contrary to what they think. It's not at the heart of what Islam is supposed to be about. It's a perversion of it in the same way some of this weird right-wing shit here is a perversion of Christianity. And, it's just fucking wrong. So I want to say that because I've been thinking about 9/11 a lot lately. And the only good thing that George Bush did in 8 years was making damn sure that people knew not to blame Muslims everywhere for 9/11 and articulating, the differences between actual Muslims that are in the mainstream and this, kind of wackadoodle sect called the Taliban and the Al-Qaeda people who were responsible. And I just wanted to make make that point because I think it's important.
It is an important point.
We're
going to take a break, and when we return, we're going to talk about
more breaks.
We're going to talk about
2 breaks. Oh my
God. 2 breaks every show, man.
My drink is almost done, Zeb.
You're expensive.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to talk about vaccines and horsey things. We'll be right back. We'll be right back. Hey friends, thanks for supporting Narrative. We really appreciate it. We also appreciate our sponsors. And tonight's show is brought to you by Policy Genius. There is no better time than now to apply for life insurance. Each year you postpone getting life insurance can bring higher rates. But comparing quotes from more than a dozen top insurers is easy with Policy Genius. You can save 50% or more on life insurance by comparing quotes with Policy Genius. You could also save $1,300 or more per year on life insurance by using Policy Genius to compare those policies. You can rely on Policy Genius's licensed experts because they work for you, not the insurance companies. They'll guide you through every step of the insurance buying process. Policy Genius' excellent service has been endorsed by thousands of 5-star reviews on Trustpilot and Google. And due to their award-winning policy that does away with medical exams in favor of a phone call, you can get covered in as little as a week. This exclusive policy was recently rated #1 by Forbes magazine, higher than options by Ladder, Ethos, and Bestow. Visit policygenius.com and you'll be able to work out your coverage needs in minutes and find your best price for life insurance. And Policy Genius will take care of the paperwork and scheduling at no cost to you. They never sell your information to other companies or add extra fees or anything like that. Head to policygenius.com to get started right now. Policy Genius. When it comes to insurance, it's nice to get it right. And that's not the right one. Where's what happened to Greg?
Oh,
there you are, Greg. Sorry, pressed the wrong button. It happens. I was placed with an American flag. I mean, at least it's patriotic.
Did I say something wrong? What did I do? I've been banished. I've been lost in the airlift. I've crash landed in Canada.
I'm a little rusty on the equipment here. Everything's it's still getting reacquainted with everything. It's a little different. But it's it's nice to see you guys. I got to say, what a nice, what a treat. I've been missing you. But someone wanted to talk about this ivermectin. What did you call it? The insanity or something? I think was it you, Greg, or was it?
I wanted to talk about the insanity. This is people have commented on my podcast who listened today, and thank you for listening. I had Kurt Anderson on, who wrote fantasy. I love Kurt Anderson. He's one of the co-founders of Spy Magazine. He's written a bunch of things. He's just a great, really smart guy, super writer. So, Fantasyland, his book, which he wrote, it dropped in September of 2017. So pre-Trump, pre-QAnon, pre all this shit. He makes the argument that Americans, by our nature, are predisposed to believing in wacky shit, because basically our ancestors believed it when someone said, "Come to America, the streets are paved with gold," and then they got on the ships and they came here and they were like, "That is not true. We have to cut down trees to build our houses.
Don't tell the people in Afghanistan that
the Wi-Fi doesn't work. Like, what the fuck?" So, and we're descended from this, and the same, it's the same gene that makes us dream the impossible dream, makes us also believe crazy horse shit, Yeah. And he said on the podcast that, hey, I was curious, why are Americans so religious? Why are Americans into these kind of like, sidebar religions? Yeah, I don't want to misquote him, but interesting religions, atypical, whatever the word is. And that's what he came up with, and he wrote this beautiful book, which is so funny and good. And I just buy the book; it's a wonderful book. But we're seeing it now. We're seeing the fantasy land writ large, which is where people, look, I get the idea that you're like, okay, well, maybe this horse medicine is going to help me. Maybe vitamin D will help me. Maybe this will help me. That's fine. But people are taking this stuff as a preventative for COVID and refuse to take the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, that to me, it doesn't get more fucking crazy than that. It is a vaccine. It is free. It is readily available. It is designed for humans. It's now been given billions of times around the world with very, very little problem. Take the fucking vaccine. Do not take horse medicine. What the fuck are you doing? And the people promoting this, Zev, people promoting this, Mike Flynn's brother, those people are just bad, okay? And all the Fox News, Laura Ingraham for months has been trumpeting this shit, okay? Tucker Carlson, Maria Romo, whatever the fuck her name is. What was your
Bartiromo.
LB, I don't want to say what LB.
I actually can't say. I don't want to make fun of her. Yeah.
Bartiromo.
Something that one of my phrases. Oh no, don't say that on the air.
I wouldn't want to say what you would say, offline.
Don't say that. Don't use my vocabulary.
These people are evil, and they are feeding the beast. Okay, and we've never had this before. We've never had a situation where our media companies are feeding the beast. Like, they're literally killing us. Fox News is literally killing us. And CNN, you know who failed this week? Not Joe Biden. Fucking CNN failed this week. They fucking
failed. And MSNBC. Everybody failed. Everyone
fucking failed. Why do people watch these shows? I don't understand. And I don't understand why people watch these shows. And the fact that we're on this show and people are watching us as an alternative to that is also crazy, because the guys who do the journalism and get paid to do the journalism should be doing the journalism, right?
When they put H.R. McMaster on MSNBC,
trusted sources, and not be told batshit insane shit.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Ronald Reagan. This is all Reagan's fault. Fuck
it is his fault.
Fuck that guy. Fuck him. 100 years from now, when they make a list of presidents, he's going to be right above Trump, right below George W. and right above Trump. Fuck that guy.
I mean, look, when I don't want to get away from the horse stories, but when H.R. McMaster was on Andrea Mitchell the other day, I lost it. I was like, what is she doing? She is a really smart reporter. She knows her way around.
Who is she married to, though?
Yeah, I know who she married.
Exactly. I don't want to analyze the people.
I don't want to do it either. Let's leave him alone.
I want to talk about, oh my God, this one's married to this one, and this one's getting money from that one, and this one is Rubenstein this. Fuck this shit. Just hire people who don't suck. Please, for the love of fucking God.
Just do the news,
for example, an FBI director who isn't used to work for the Russians. Can we find that?
That's prerequisite for the job, though. That's what you need.
The FBI. LB, how long was that fucking asshole Hoover in charge of the FBI? 50 fucking years?
50 some odd years. Yeah. He fired the only two women. He came in Let's talk about him for a second. He came in and fired the only 2 women at the FBI at the time, and made sure there wasn't a single woman there the whole time he was there.
Because they wore better dresses than him.
Well, because if you're going to be corrupt, let's just complete this circle. If you're going to run a corrupt organization, I don't care if it's make sure that there aren't women in there keeping their eye on. I'm not saying women aren't corruptible. I'm just sort of saying it's a real good recipe for getting away with your shit. If anyone who's had a wife, or a mother or a sister or a girlfriend, a best friend,
anyone who has another mother,
a daughter. Well, some people never know their mother, but you know that we're like, what are you doing? What are you doing there? What's going on there? Yeah. What's happening? What's happening? Wait a minute. Hang on. Hey, I see something. I don't like that. That's our job. You're not going to get away with anything. So you got to corrupt us, right? And a lot of women are corruptible, but there'll still be that contingent. So where we're like, what's happening there? What are you doing? I don't know about that thing over there. I'm going to follow my rules. Give me the rules. I'm going to follow my rules. We like that.
I bet you do have strict rules, your household. But that's good.
I feel like something as important as the FBI, for its existence, has for 80% of the time been headed by someone who actively sucks and is corrupt.
Yeah, he was very bad. He was very bad.
Look, the problem is the system encourages corruption because people, the organized crime world needs corruption in order to have, it needs the judges in its places, and it needs the corrupt cops, and it needs it does, because otherwise it wouldn't be happening so much.
Well, then you say every system would encourage it. Organized crime is, criminals in these networks. They're very, very good. They start, like I always say, don't underestimate the bad guy. That's the worst thing you can do. And where I have made really bad, predictions or put my faith in the wrong places, I really underestimated how good the bad guy was at being bad. It's always an underestimation of their skill set, of their will, of their size, of how far ahead of the game they are that anyone else can kind of track and sort of see. To come back to Ray, the thing that and it's something that Unc said that I think was really important. He said it on the first podcast I got him on, which was our friend Allison's podcast, and I think he said this to you too, Greg. And he's right about this. Is we couldn't really deal with a second term of Donald Trump in terms of the corruption. I think that stuff would have buckled, really would have buckled. But we could survive that one term, but what you had to do was just clean everybody out. Anybody he appointed has to go. It's not even you have to vet them. You have to be fair. It's no, you know what? No, there's no time for vetting. There's no time for being fair in that sense. It's anybody he put into place, that in and of itself is the taint. That's the taint. And so they got to go. They got to go.
Yep.
And not getting rid of Ray was a massive mistake. In my opinion, it was a massive mistake.
It can still be fixed. We're going to go talk about that.
I'm not accusing him of anything. I'm just saying, get him out of there.
We're going to talk about that another time because we're running out of time. And you still want to talk about bad guys from your The World Beneath, which is in episode 10. Yes. So what's going on in this next episode? Because you've got a little clip for us.
Okay. This is the last narrative. This is the last narrative episode.
Not of
you'll
narrative,
hear from me at the very.
No,
it's a less storytelling of scripted episodes.
Spell the American way, Zev, not this weird aperitif way.
So we're going to get to the end of season 1, and you guys are going to kind of see what it's been all about, and really what season 1 is about, because there are 5 seasons. What season 1 is about is I'm just setting the groundwork. I'm just setting all this, setting the foundation. You guys understand the foundation, so that we can really soar, right? So that we don't have to re-educate them. Why did that person do that? Where is this coming from? So it's really about the laundromat. It's about the money. This whole thing is about, if you stand in the money and you look from the money, you can see all the characters, you can see all the motivations, you can see everything that happened in the last 100 years. You really can. So we're standing in the money. Now we're coming to the end of that particular just chapter, that particular season. And it's all been driving towards one thing, which is the smuggling empire that we were just referencing with Afghanistan. So you can imagine where the next seasons are going to go, because everything, the whole underworld, the money of the underworld, all of it comes from smuggling.
And it's episode 10. It's called Buried Alive. Here's a clip.
What are the chances that after the removal of Paul Castellano and FC Agron, their executioners and successors were running separate, massive heroin rings out of neighboring territories with the same supply point? Was John Gotti's source for all that heroin the Russian mafia? Did those same smugglers, behind the 2 hits in 1985, have other tentacles that reached into one another's realms and entwined them in an octopus's embrace? I'll leave you with some final details on those Russian criminals who were flooding us in a very specific and targeted way.
Ooh, it's exciting.
Oh!
I'm excited. That's going to be really good. So that's available anywhere people get their podcasts, but particularly
anywhere they get their podcasts. And that's actually news right there. No one's ever connected that or said that what just was said in that before.
The
ever.
Heroin smuggling rings.
Where John Gotti got his heroin.
Oh, from the Russians. You just said it. Breaking news, everybody. You learned it here. It's time for us to go. What a nice thing to do in the middle of our summer little break to see you guys. Final thoughts from anybody before we close? If not, I can't believe
that there's 5 seasons of this shit that you're going to like produce out of your brain. Your brain is really amazing, LB. It really is. I can't even. You know, people are writing me, when's season 2? I'm like, she's got to write it down. I'm not even done with
season 1. You guys, I haven't even finished season 1.
But it's in your fucking brain. That's the thing that's amazing. It's in your brain. It's going to be churned out, and then it's going to be wonderful, like this was. I would like to lobby for more Lucky Luciano. I think he should take a bigger part. I think. You
get the last one. Greg is Lucky Luciano in the series, everybody. He doesn't understand the scope of this commitment. There's going to be more from Greg, but
is there a Lucky spinoff coming featuring Greg O'Hara as Lucky? Oh my gosh.
Lucky with an exclamation point.
Yes.
Lucky the musical.
I'll buy it.
You get the last line in this season. You close out the season. It's good.
Well, it's all very exciting stuff. And listen,
I guess I can handle that.
This was a really tough week for America, but there's one thing to take out of this week is that democracy is worth fighting for. And if anything, we learned that this week because we really have had 2 decades of war fighting for democracy for other people, another country. We should be doing the same here in America as we continue to face all the enormous challenges we're facing in our election system. And I think we can, and I think we will, as we head into another election year. We'll be back on Narrative September 8th. This is the official launch of the season. It's on a Wednesday because there's a new Wednesday episode. And then we'll see you guys on Friday the 10th of September. And until then, have a good weekend. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Narrative is funded by viewers like you. Support our independent journalism at patreon.com/narrative. Narrative is funded by viewers like